Hey, what's up, Jew? I think I'll have to restart the stream. 1 second. All right. Happy Tuesday, Snoo. What's up, baseball? I don't know. My den stream isn't starting. Let me refresh the page. I double checked all the stuff. They might be working. I know they're working on new infrastructure. All right. Let me where did Yeah, they pinged me earlier today that they are the Den team, that is, that they are rolling out like new UI stuff. So it's probably not ready yet, which is fine. That's the whole point of being an alpha. Honestly, really ready to delete my YouTube and Twitch accounts and just focus on Den and Pine Tree. Getting close. Maybe by the end of the week I'll just do that. Because I don't like having 4 different screens open when I'm streaming. Like, there's no... well, there are ways to like bring in chats all together, but I'm not that serious of a streamer to even focusing on that. Found some bugs at the Riverside. Yeah, I'm using Meld Studio. If anybody's like watching and curious about streaming, I would highly recommend. It has all the like power features and advanced features that you want, but it's very beginner friendly. So which is dope. If you plan on having guests and things like that, Riverside is undefeated. But if it's just you and a screen, or you and like gaming or whatever, Meld Studio is great. Super easy to use, etc. All right, so I am paying attention. I've got Den Chat up, YouTube, Twitch, and Pine Tree. So let's go ahead and jump in. So as a reminder, I'm Derek. I'm building Native. Native is an agentic economy, AI playground, on-chain city, the whole 9 yards, where people and agents called dots come together to chat, play, and earn. Native started as a way for me to leverage a lot of the building blocks and primitives that Farcaster has, but also that Agent Kit at Coinbase, the Coinbase developer platform, LangChain, etc. is, and started thinking through a lot of the building blocks that are out there. I still don't think that we've even scratched the surface on what's possible with the chain, and so Native is a way and a playground. As stated, I started as a side project, has grown into kind of this thing where I'm spending the majority of my time building it, etc. But it is this place where I can bring in a lot of different technologies into a cohesive use case for people. And today we're going to be talking about one of those pieces. I think that there's a way to assemble these on-chain Legos together in such a way that it allows for passive income for people inside of an entertaining thing, while also utilizing some of the really cool technologies that are out there, and it can provide value, not just in the form of income to native citizens, which is kind of the whole point here, but also provides value to native holders, right? And so that's a large part of what we're going to be focused in on today. So again, using the website native.fun as the jump off point for these streams, you can kind of see down here, we're talking about the dots today, which are agentic citizens within the city of Native. They can buy, sell, launch, trade coins, and today we're going to be talking about a lot more of their capabilities. So if we go to actually the memo, which I would point people to if you want to kind of dive deeper into what I'm building with Native as a project, and we're going to scroll down to technology. There's a couple of things here that are being built, right? So the on-chain stuff, the agentic stuff. Coinbase Agent Kit is where X402 support lives, and we'll talk about that briefly today. But I also want to talk about, kind of show some of these dot capabilities, right? So for those of you who may not have seen it, dot infrastructure right now allows dots to trade coins, wrap and unwrap ETH. I built this into Agent Kit, as well as Farcaster support into Agent Kit, and I was given a grant for those two things. But also, they do have lore and personality and the capability of strategic planning, etc. And so, agents are cool, and there's a lot of ecosystem kind of ecosystems erupting around agents, right? So you have Native, obviously, with what I'm building with dots. You have virtuals with their kind of game economy. You've got a lot more on the horizon. Big fan of what Shaw Makes Magic and I believe it's Hyperspace. Is that the name? Are building with agentic gaming and things like that. Native is in this weird spot where it's like half game, half economy, half utility. I know those fractions don't add up, but whatever. And so there's a real question of number one, how does AI and crypto, the chain, interact? And I think that's why people are so excited about X402. And also, how do you find out about agents? How do agents find out about one another? How do you have like a reputation for an agent? How do you know that an agent is trustworthy? How do you know what an agent has done on chain for other people, for itself, etc.? And that's actually where this protocol that we're talking about today comes into play, and it is it's ERC 8004. So for those that may not be familiar, ERC is an Ethereum request for comments. So because Ethereum is kind of this open world computer, anybody can submit what's called an EIP, Ethereum improvement proposal, and that is like, hey, the world computer does all of these things. We actually want it to do this other thing as well. And so 8004 started as an EIP. It's now at the ERC kind of standards track, which is, it could be a standard on-chain at the Ethereum level. And it was written by Marco de Rossi, who was at MetaMask at the time. I'm not sure if he still is. David Krapis, who's at the Ethereum Foundation, Jordan Ellis at Google, and Eric at Coinbase. These four gentlemen came together and authored the Trustless Agents Protocol. So for those of you who may be familiar with X402, X402 is a kind of agent-to-agent payment standard. Not just agent to agent, but agent to API or API to API. It's a way to automate payments without humans getting involved, right? Agents are obviously one way that payments can be done without humans as a middleman. But payments alone is not enough. You need things like discovery. You need things like trustworthiness and trust indexing. You need things like reputation. You need things like feedback for agents. And so 8004 as a protocol is a way to do that. It is a way for you and I, as well as other agents, to discover, choose, interact, transact, with agents, on chain. And so the way to think of 8004 is that it's a way to basically index all of the agents that exist. And this is done through three fundamental things at the protocol level. There are these three registries. And so these are an identity registry, a reputation registry, and a validation registry. These things can be issued by the same organization, the same product, the same platform. They could be different. You could have an agent that is issued by one platform and registered on another, etc. And so 8004 allows agents to kind of break out of the organizational borders that the agent lives in. So hypothetically speaking, just to make this super clear, a virtuals agent, for instance, could interact with a native agent or a LangChain agent that someone built, etc., if all of those things could find one another using 8004 standards. And so that is the goal here. You have these registration files that get registered at the identity registry, and they emit events and all this kind of stuff. I'll throw this link somewhere in a thread, as a follow-up thread, but definitely encourage people to read through 8004. X402 alone is not enough to get to a decentralized on-chain agentic economy. You need something like X402 or what Stripe is doing with the Agentic Commerce Protocol, ACP, and you need the indexing and discovery that ERC 8004 brings. I am pleased to say that DOTs are not only X402 compatible, they are not only ACP compatible, Agentic Commerce Protocol from Stripe, but they will also be 8004 compatible. And so I wanted to kind of show a little bit about that over the next 15 minutes, and then open for Q&A. So what you are looking at here is V2 of the dot contract. Now you're saying V2, like V1 isn't deployed. V1 is not public. It has been deployed, and I've been testing it for months. And so V2, if we scroll up here, it allows not only the stuff that we talked about yesterday, it also implements 8004 compatibility. So if we come down to the registered dot as agent function, what ends up happening is you put in a domain that hosts the metadata file. So you could have mint a dot, which is an agentic NFT compatible with 8004. You could then go register your dot with native, or if we have an identity registry, you could also register your dot with a third-party registry. So maybe Shopify issues one, or Stripe, or Coinbase, or whatever it is. You could register your dot kind of anywhere, generate an informational like metadata file that is 8004 compatible, and then in native, you would register your dot as an 8004 agent. And that means that anybody who's looking at these indexes and registries could actually find your dot, not just within the confines of native. So what we're building here is a very large, cross-compatible, open and composable ecosystem of agents, all powered by the native token. And so you can see here kind of what's happening. Obviously you can update domain, register the domain, etc. Now what's happening under the hood is one thing. What's happening within the product is another. So to show just a brief glimpse at what's going on here, so let me close out the events. If I come and click on one of my dots, obviously this is a work in progress, but if I come over to the settings for my dot, this test dot is actually Arlo. So Arlo is a dot that I could register as an ERC 8004 compliant agent. And so I would get a registration JSON file from the place that I'm registering, and then I could come and put that right here into the native UI. It would call the contract, super easy to use, super user friendly. It would call the contract, register my dot as an agent, and there we go. I am now an 8004 compatible dot, right? And so the use cases for things like this are pretty robust. It kind of ranges from commerce, as you can imagine, but also reputation agents, right? So you want to ask an agent about someone's reputation on chain. You want to ask an agent about something like Grok or Nanar on Farcaster. You want to ask it about information and queries. You want to see like, oh, is this trading bot useful, etc. The 8004 registries could actually be used for all of these things, along with reputation, which is kind of built into the protocol. And so this is all you do. You actually put in the domain for the agent, and then you can register your dot as an 8004 compatible agent. One thing I wanted to point out I learned about recently is Regent, which is actually taking 8004 and 402 agents and their revenue, if they're making money. So for instance, DOT is making money within the on-chain city of native. You could actually tokenize that revenue with Regent. And this is dependent on both X402 for the payment, kind of layer, but also for ERC 8004 for identity, reputation, etc. And so that's kind of look at ERC 8004, 4 dots. I'm happy to kind of answer any questions. Short stream today. barring a onslaught of questions. But happy to answer any that are pressing for folks. You can throw it in the chat. I am paying attention to YouTube, Twitch, Den, and Pine Tree. So. No questions about this or anything else at all. Short stream today, otherwise. It's very interesting. Quick note, unless it's on my end, sound is always very low. Is my sound low for anyone else? My my dashboard seems pretty good. You're welcome, Base. Bald. Lots of good info, no questions. Thank you, Zumo, for the compliment. Negative. So sound's not low for other people. Zumo, it might be on your end. I'm not sure. It might also be Twitch if you're watching on Twitch. Maybe they're compressing the audio or something. I don't know. Yeah, highly recommend the on-chain stuff. Pine Tree and Den both do a good job. Stream. Obviously, I'm biased. Know both teams, support both teams, love both teams. No, it was as always. Yeah, it seems like a Twitch or specific to you thing. Sorry about that, though. Maybe rewatch the stream on one of the other platforms. Yeah, these items this week, these kind of stream episodes this week are recorded and will live on the profiles of the various platforms. Sound is good. Why does Pine Tree not allow expanding the video? Not sure. I think Geo and Android, if you're in the chat, maybe you can answer that one. Small vid upright, yeah. Yeah, that's the thing with the on-chain platforms, both Pine Tree and Den. They're doing great work, great teams, but they're startups. They're new, and so figuring out things like the UI and token alignment and all that kind of stuff is a work in progress. Expecting them to compete on day 0 with YouTube and Twitch is hard, Any other questions about this or anything else? Happy to answer. Seems pretty straightforward today, huh? Forecaster Mini app works better. There you go. All right, well, everyone, thanks for taking time out of your day to join. Hope you enjoyed. Pretty technical deep dive today. A lot of the rest of the week is not going to be as technical, but wanted to kind of front load some of the technical stuff. So yesterday with the smart contracts and the automatic purchase, as well as today with 8004 and some X402 talk, we're going to get less and less technical as the week goes on. So Hopefully this is interesting. Keep your eye out for 8004 type stuff. It is going to be a pretty substantial protocol on Ethereum, I believe anyway. And so if you're excited about X402, take a look at 8004, or don't worry about any of it. Let me worry about it, and you focus on native. So with that said, hope everybody has a great rest of your day, and welcome home, everyone. See y'all.